In this video, we will learn how to solve multiple step equations with numbers and letters on both sides of the equal sign. Some equations will require us to combine like terms, some of which might not be on the same side of the equation. So we're going to have to add one more step to accommodate for that. First, we're going to combine like terms on each side of the equation. Next, we're going to move the letters to one side. This is going to give us the location of our variable. Then we're going to follow just as before. We're going to find the operations being applied to our variables and do the inverse operations to undo them. 10x plus 8 is equal to 6x. We begin with step 1. We look at each side of the equation and see if there is any like terms for us to combine. On the left side, I don't have anything to combine because one has a variable and the other one doesn't. On the right side, I also don't have any like terms because I just have one single term. There's nothing else for me to combine. Now we're going to move our letters to one side. While it doesn't really matter which side you move them, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I made the decision that I was going to move all of my letters to the left. The reason I did that is because I didn't want to have to think every single time I solved an equation, should I move them to the left? Should I move them to the right? Like I said, while it doesn't really matter which direction you move them, the answer will still be the same. For me, it's just easier to say I'm always going to move them to the left so that I don't have to think about another step for me to have to figure out. So what that means is to move it to the left means that if I have any variables, any letters on the right side, I'm going to have to move them to combine them with the ones on the left side. And the way that we do is the following. On the right side, I have a positive 6x. So then the inverse operation will be to subtract 6x from both sides. Okay? From left to right, 10x minus 6x will give me 4x. Bring down the 8. Don't lose the equal sign. And on the right side, what happened is that 6x minus 6x, that will become a 0. All right, so then my variables are located on the left side because I moved them to the left. The operations being applied is addition and multiplication. So the opposite of addition will be subtraction. So I subtract 8 from both sides. So from left to right, I have 4x. And then 8 minus 8, that goes to 0. And then on the right side, 0 minus 8, that is minus 8. Don't forget that we can simplify 4x plus 0 as just 4x. And on the right side, I still have that minus 8. Now I need to undo the multiplication by 4. And the way we do that is by dividing both sides by 4 because the opposite of multiplication is division. Very carefully here, 4 divided by 4, remember that turns into a 1x. And on the right side, negative 8 divided by 4, well, 8 divided by 4 is 2. And because they have different signs, that becomes the negative. Now we can further simplify our answer because we know that 1x is just the same as x. So our solution is x is equal to negative 2. Let's try the next one. 12x minus 7x plus 10 is equal to negative 3x plus 10. So I'm going to first simplify like terms on each side of the equation. We're going to combine like terms. On the left side, I see that I have two terms that are alike. The 12x minus the 7x. Well, 12x minus 7x will give me 5x because I just subtract 12 minus 7 and then I bring down the variable and I bring down the 10. I don't lose the equal sign and now I'm going to look at the right side as an individual expression. These two on the right side, they don't have any like terms because one has a variable and the other one isn't. So then I cannot combine them, so I just bring them down as minus 3x plus 10. So I'm done with the first step. Now I have to move the letters to one side. Remember that I said that a long time ago I decided that I was going to move all the letters to the left. That means that any letter or variable that is on the right side of the equal sign, I'm going to move it to the left side. So on the right side, I have minus 3x. The opposite of subtraction is addition. So I add 3x to both sides. From left to right, 5x plus 3x, that gives me 8x. Don't lose the 10 or the equals. On the right side, I have negative 3x plus 3x, and that gives me 0 plus 10. Remember, right here is a 0 because we are adding and subtracting. So 3 minus 3 that will be 0. We will continue to simplify because 0 plus 10 is just 10. So I have 8x plus 10 is equal to 10. Now I find the location that's on the left. That was on purpose, remember? We move everything to the left. So the operations being applied are addition and multiplication. The way that I move the addition, because remember we first move anything that is being added or subtracted. So a plus 10 or an addition of 10 gets subtracted from both sides of the equation. So I end up from left to right as 8x. 10 minus 10 is 0. And that equals 2. Well, 10 minus 10 again, that's another 0. We're not going to panic. We're not going to worry because we know that 8x plus 0 is just 8x. And on the right side, that gives us 0. I'm going to move this to the right here to give myself some space. So I had 8x is equal to 0. We're not complete yet. Remember, we still have to get rid of that multiplication by 8. And we do that by dividing both sides by 8. This turns into a 1. This is division, remember? So that's 8 divided by 8 is 1. Bring down the variable. And on the right side, 0 divided by 8 is just 0. And I will not forget that 1x is the same as just x. That means my solution is equal to 0. Let's read some examples with parentheses. Some equations will require us to simplify by using the distributive property to eliminate parentheses. Now, as we continue to add items to our equations, we're going to have to start adding steps to the way that we solve our equations. So the first step now is going to be parentheses. Parentheses is king. Then we're going to combine like terms, just like we did before on each side. We're going to move the letters to one side. That's going to be the location of our variable. We're going to find the operations being applied and then do inverse operations. So let's begin. Parentheses is king, so we're going to do parentheses first. We're going to distribute by multiplying the 3 times the 2y and the 3 times 1. Well, 3 times 2 will be 6. Bring down the variable. And 3 times 1 is 3. Don't lose the plus or the equal sign. And on the right side, since this is not inside the parentheses, we're just going to bring it as it is. Then we check, are there any like terms on each side of the equation for us to combine? Well, on the left side, I have one term with a variable, the 6y, and one without, the 3. So those are not like terms. I cannot combine them. And on the right side, I have only minus 2. So there's nothing that I can combine that one with on the right side. Now we need to move the letters to one side. But I notice that my variables are already all of them on the left side. There's no variables on the right side of the equal sign for me to move. So then that is also completed. So we've done the parentheses, we've combined like terms, and we move the letters to one side with what's already done for us. That means that the next thing to do is to find out which operations are being applied. In this case, we have addition and multiplication. So we're going to move the addition first, remember? The opposite of addition is subtraction, so I subtract 3 from both sides of the equation. From left to right, that gives me 6y. Now 3 minus 3, that goes to 0, equals, on the right side, these two have the same sign, so I'm going to add and keep the sign, so that gives me minus 5. And then we don't forget that 6y plus 0 is just 6y, and I still have that minus 5 on the right side. We are not done. We still need to get rid of that multiplication by 6, and the opposite of multiplication is division. So we divide. 6 divided by 6, that goes to 1. Bring down the variable. And on the right side, I cannot divide 5 by 6 evenly, and it can be simplified. So I'm going to leave it as negative 5 over 6. What I can do is rewrite 1y as just y. So this is y is equal to negative 5 over 6, and then this becomes our solution. Let's try another one with parentheses. It's a little more intimidating, but we're going to take it one step at a time, okay? What I do notice is that there is a variable without a coefficient. So what I'm going to do, just to help me out, I'm going to put a 1. Remember, we are allowed to do that, just so that it helps me when I start distributing that number outside of the parentheses. So let's begin. From left to right, I have a negative 4m, so I bring it down. and then I have this 2 attached to this parentheses. That means that I have to distribute times each of the terms inside the parentheses. So 2 times 3 will be 6. Bring down the variable. And because I have different signs, the 2 has a minus in front and the 3 is a positive, that answer is negative. And then 2 times 4 will be 8. There's no variable there, but because again they have different signs, that is a minus 8. Don't lose your equal sign. On the right side I have the minus 8, and then I'm going to distribute. So 6 times 8 will give me 48, and because both of these have minuses this time, that will be a positive. And then 6 times 1 will be 6, don't lose the variable, and the minus will also be a positive. So we did the parentheses. Now we need to see if there are some terms that we can combine. On the left side, if I just look at the left side alone, I see that these first 2 are like terms. They both have m's. So I have -4, -6. Because I have the same sign, I add and keep the sign. So 4 plus 6 will be 10. That's minus. Don't lose the variable. Bring down the -8. Now I cannot combine those 2 because one has a letter and the other one doesn't. Don't lose your equal sign. On the right side, just the right side alone, I have these 2 that are like terms because they're both numbers. Neither of them have a variable. Now they are opposite in sign or different signs. One has a minus and the other one is a positive. So we subtract and keep the sign of the largest. So in this case will be 40. And then I bring down the 6m, and this cannot be combined, the 40 with the 6m, because one has a variable and the other one doesn't. So we've combined like terms. Now is the time to move the letters to one side. Remember that I always move my letters to the left. That means if there are any letters, variables, on the right side, I'm going to move them to the left side. So on the right side, I have a plus 6m. So the opposite of addition will be subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 6m from both sides. From left to right, minus 10m minus 6m. Same sign, we add and keep the sign. That's negative 16. Don't forget to bring down the variable. Minus 8, don't lose the equal sign. And on the right side, I have 40. And 6 minus 6, that will be 0. But we're going to remember that 40 plus 0 is just 40. So I'm not going to write those zeros anymore. Since I have all of my variables already on the left, the location is the left, and I have subtraction and multiplication, I'm going to undo subtraction first. The opposite of subtraction is addition, so I'm going to add 8 to both sides. From left to right, that gives me negative 16m. Now minus 8 plus 8, remember that goes to 0, but we're not writing the zeros anymore because we just get back what was there. So negative 16m plus 0 is just negative 16m. On the right side, 40 plus 8 will give me 48. And I still need to get rid of that multiplication. So negative 16 times n, the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 16. Remember the 16, negative 16 divided by negative 16, that's 1. But that will give us 1m, but 1m is the same as m, so I'm going to stop writing the 1. And on the right side, I have 48 divided by negative 16. Well, 48 divided by 16 is 3, but since they're different signs, I have to put the minus. Notice that in this equation, I stopped doing 2 steps. I don't write the plus zeros anymore, and I don't write the 1. As you continue to practice on your own, you're going to see that there are more steps that you could possibly eliminate because with practice comes knowledge. You'll know exactly what comes next without actually having to write it down.
Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.